The sun blazed down on the Las Vegas exhibition arena, the crowd buzzing with excitement. The air smelled of popcorn, energy, and anticipation. Among the cheering fans, cameras flashed incessantly, capturing every moment of what promised to be a historic event. Today was no ordinary demonstration. It was the rare, impossible matchup that everyone had whispered about. The legendary boxing heavyweight. Mike Tyson, stepping onto the mat against the martial arts icon. Chuck Norris, Mike Tyson, strode in, his trademark confidence radiating from every step. Clad in casual training gear and his ever-intimidating aura, he waved to the crowd, letting his grin and cocky demeanor do the talking. "Power beats finesse every time," he muttered to a few reporters near the sidelines, flexing his fists playfully. The crowd roared, some laughing nervously, others on the edge of their seats. Tyson was a man who needed no introduction, and the world knew he had ended careers with a single punch. Then came Chuck Norris, walking onto the mat with the calm, measured precision of a man who had mastered decades of martial arts. His posture was perfect, every movement deliberate. He didn't need to flex. He didn't need to intimidate. The arena fell slightly quieter when he entered. Respect was automatic. Unlike Tyson's brash energy, Chuck carried the discipline and serenity of a lifetime dedicated to the martial arts. As the two legends faced each other across the mat, the tension was palpable. The announcer's voice echoed, "Ladies and gentlemen, history is about to be made." Tyson chuckled audibly and raised his gloves, teasing, "Let's make this quick. I don't waste my time." Chuck simply smiled, bowed respectfully, and assumed a ready stance, letting his calm presence speak louder than words ever could. Bystanders whispered and pulled out their phones. Some were fans of Tyson, some of Norris, but everyone was united in curiosity. How would this clash between raw power and precise skill unfold? The stakes were not just physical, they were symbolic. Ego versus discipline, strength versus technique. Every spectator held their breath, sensing that what was about to happen could shock them all. And then, in that brief moment of silence before the first movement, the crowd collectively thought the same thing. No one expected what happened next. The arena buzzed with anticipation, the energy nearly tangible. Fans couldn't believe their eyes. Mike Tyson, the baddest man in boxing history, standing on the mat, facing Chuck Norris, the martial arts legend who had seemed invincible for decades. Reporters and cameras captured every moment, broadcasting live across multiple platforms. Social media feeds were already exploding with the event. Clips of Tyson laughing, Norris standing calmly, and fans chanting both names. People were whispering, "This is going to be wild," while others debated, technique or power, who will win? Tyson's cocky grin never faded. He bounced lightly on the balls of his feet, stretching his shoulders and cracking his knuckles. His eyes scanned the arena, soaking in the energy, letting it fuel his confidence. "I've knocked out champions with one punch," he whispered to his corner. "I don't see why today should be any different." His swagger wasn't just confidence. It was ego in full force. Meanwhile, Chuck Norris moved in a completely different rhythm. He performed slow, deliberate stretches, each movement precise, controlled, and purposeful. Every muscle seemed alive but restrained, coiled like a spring ready to release. Unlike Tyson, he didn't boast or smirk. He let his posture, his calm breathing, and his steady gaze convey authority. There was no need for theatrics. Discipline spoke louder than words. The crowd noticed the contrast immediately. Some leaned toward Tyson, cheering his brash energy. Others leaned toward Norris, fascinated by the serene control he radiated. Cameramen captured split-screen shots. Tyson bouncing and flexing on one side, Norris moving slowly and deliberately on the other. The contrast was electrifying. Ego versus mastery, strength versus technique, power versus control. The announcer's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, history is about to be made." The words echoed, reverberating off the walls, magnifying the tension. Tyson smirked, raising a fist. "Let's make this fast," he said with a cocky laugh. Norris, unmoved, offered a respectful bow and assumed a ready stance. The arena went silent for a brief heartbeat, the calm before the storm. As the seconds ticked by, Tyson's ego seemed to grow. He started throwing light jabs into the air as if showing off his signature boxing moves. The crowd gasped as he twirled, demonstrating speed and power. Yet every move Norris made, a careful shift of weight, a small pivot, a measured breathing pattern, made the onlookers realize that this wasn't a simple matchup. Tyson's raw aggression might be unmatched in boxing, but against Norris's martial arts mastery, it was a different battlefield entirely. Cameras zoomed in on Tyson's face, confident, cocky, playful. Then they panned to Norris and serene, focused, disciplined. The contrast was breathtaking. This wasn't just a fight. It was a lesson in two forms of mastery. One relied on brute force, the other on control, strategy, and years of training. Social media posts began trending. Tyson vs. Norris, charm power vs. technique, their legendary face-off. Then, a hush fell over the crowd. Tyson glanced at Norris and joked loudly, "You ready for this, old man?" Laughter rippled through the audience. Some laughed nervously. Others held their breath. Norris didn't respond verbally. Instead, he adjusted his stance slightly, eyes fixed on Tyson, signaling readiness without arrogance. The quiet confidence was almost louder than Tyson's bravado. Even reporters and commentators were divided. "Tyson has raw power, speed, and knockout ability," one said. "But Norris has precision, timing, and technique honed for decades. This isn't going to be simple." Another commentator added, "This is more than a fight. It's a lesson in ego versus discipline, youth versus experience, flash versus mastery." The camera zoomed in on the spectators. Phones were out, live streaming the moment. Kids were wide-eyed. Old fans were cheering, and social media notifications exploded. The world was watching, and everyone had a question in mind. Could Tyson's confidence overcome Norris's discipline? Or was this about to become a humbling moment? Finally, the tension reached a new level. Tyson bounced on his toes one last time, cracking his knuckles, while Norris took a deep breath and centered himself. The moment was electric, almost cinematic, the calm before the storm. Where are you watching this epic showdown from? Which country or city? Drop it in the comments below. Let's see how far this legend battle reaches. The crowd leaned forward. Every heartbeat felt louder. Every second stretched. And in that silence just before the first contact, the audience collectively thought the same thing. No one knows what's going to happen next. But this is about to be unforgettable. The bell rang, echoing through the packed arena, signaling the start of the most anticipated exhibition the world had ever seen. The crowd held their collective breath, leaning forward as if their own anticipation could influence the battle about to unfold. Mike Tyson, the heavyweight legend, bounced on his toes, gloves raised, grinning with cocky confidence. Chuck Norris, ever composed, adjusted his stance, eyes locked on Tyson, calm yet fully aware of the raw power facing him. Tyson started aggressively, rushing forward with a combination of jabs and hooks, each movement quick and heavy, a rhythm that had felled countless opponents in the boxing ring. The crowd erupted with cheers and gasps. "That's classic Tyson," some shouted. Others whispered, nervously anticipating what Norris would do next. But Norris didn't flinch. His body moved with deliberate precision, pivoting just enough to avoid Tyson's powerful swings without even breaking his calm composure. Every movement was calculated, almost effortless. The arena watched in stunned silence as the contrast between the two men became apparent. Tyson relied on raw aggression, on sheer explosive power honed from decades in the ring. Norris, on the other hand, used years of disciplined martial arts training, timing, distance, and precision. Tyson's fists were fast and heavy, but Chuck's footwork, posture, and controlled breathing made him an almost untouchable target. The crowd could feel the clash of two worlds, brute force versus refined skill. Tyson smirked, cocky as ever, throwing a wide right hook. "I got this," he shouted, laughing loudly. His confidence was infectious, but it also carried arrogance. Norris didn't respond verbally. Instead, he shifted his weight slightly, his stance adjusting just enough to deflect Tyson's punch without moving his upper body unnecessarily. It was subtle, almost invisible, but it sent a message. Control and patience trump raw energy. The spectators were on edge. Half the arena cheered for Tyson's power, while the other half admired Norris's control and technique. Phones were raised everywhere, recording every second. Social media notifications were exploding as fans around the world watched the live feed. Hashtags like Summer Tyson vs. Norris, Car Power vs. Discipline, and Legendary Face-Off trended instantly. People debated Tyson's knockout power versus Norris's precise counters when who will win. Tyson, frustrated that his aggressive punches weren't landing cleanly, began to overextend. He lunged forward with a wide combination, trying to overwhelm Norris with raw energy. Chuck calmly sidestepped, his body moving fluidly, almost like water. One precise sidestep brought him just out of reach, and a perfectly timed palm strike to Tyson's chest. Light, controlled, and non-lethal, made Tyson stumble back slightly. The crowd gasped, realizing this wasn't going to be a one-sided show of strength. Despite the stumble, Tyson's ego wouldn't let him back down. He bounced on his toes, shouting, "Come on! Is that all you got?" The cockiness was palpable. Norris didn't respond with words, only with an even more focused gaze. His calm composure began to unnerve Tyson. The first taste of disciplined countering was sinking in. Raw aggression alone wouldn't win here. The crowd was fully absorbed, living every second of this historic clash. Young fans held their breath, older fans whispered in awe, and reporters struggled to capture the drama in real time. The arena had transformed into a moral lesson in motion: ego versus discipline, flash versus precision, power versus technique. Every swing, every pivot, every reaction told a story far deeper than a simple face-off. If you were in Tyson's place, would you stay confident or stay humble in the face of superior skill? Comment your answer below. We want to see what you would do. As the round progressed, Tyson's frustration grew. Each powerful swing met only air or a subtle shift by Norris. The crowd could see the first cracks forming in Tyson's arrogance. Meanwhile, Norris remained steady, almost serene, moving only when necessary, striking only when the opportunity presented itself. The lesson was clear. Impatience and ego could be exploited by patience and skill. By the end of the first round, Tyson had landed nothing significant, while Norris had subtly demonstrated control, precision, and adaptability. The crowd erupted in mixed reactions: awe for Norris, respect for Tyson's courage, but also laughter at the early signs of a humbling lesson in the making. Tyson wiped sweat from his brow, attempting to mask both surprise and growing respect. The tension in the arena was thick, the energy electric. Every spectator knew that the next round would be decisive. The stage was set for the moment that would either cement Tyson's ego or show the power of disciplined mastery. And in that charged silence, the audience collectively realized, this battle isn't just about strength. It's about humility, control, and respect for skill beyond raw power. The bell for the second round rang, reverberating through the arena like a drumbeat of destiny. The crowd erupted, half cheering Tyson's raw energy, half watching in awe as Chuck Norris, the martial arts legend, remained calm and focused. The contrast between the two men had become the defining story of the evening. Tyson bounced on his toes, fists raised, muscles coiled like springs. He had survived the first round, but his frustration was growing. Each swing that had failed to land against Norris's disciplined defense chipped away at his confidence. Tyson lunged forward with a flurry of punches, hoping sheer aggression would overwhelm Norris. He threw a powerful right hook followed by a rapid left jab, trying to dominate the mat with his boxing authority. The crowd cheered wildly, feeling the excitement and tension in every strike. But Norris moved like water, fluid and controlled. He didn't just dodge. He shifted, rotated, and readjusted his stance with an almost imperceptible precision. Each movement countered Tyson's power, not with brute force, but with technique honed over decades. A hush fell over the crowd as Norris took his first controlled strike. With a swift side kick to Tyson's midsection, light but perfectly placed, he made Tyson stagger backward. The force wasn't meant to hurt, but the effect was undeniable. Tyson blinked, surprised. The first moment of doubt flickered across his face. The audience gasped. Fans whispered to each other, "This is unbelievable. Norris isn't even fully attacking." Tyson recovered quickly, a frown replacing his smirk. "I faced tougher than this," he growled, bouncing back into stance. He tried a spinning uppercut, a move that would have felled nearly anyone in the boxing world. Norris, however, anticipated the motion. A slight sidestep and a minimal parry with his forearm deflected the strike. The crowd erupted with a mixture of amazement and tension. The precision of Norris's defense made it clear, raw power alone would not win this fight. The tension in the arena was palpable. Cameras captured every detail: Tyson's furrowed brow, his explosive movements, and Norris's calm, measured responses. Social media notifications exploded with reactions, as clips of Norris deflecting Tyson's blows went viral in real time. Tyson vs. Norris and discipline over power, legendary face-off were trending globally. Fans debated feverishly. Could Tyson's sheer strength overcome Norris's unmatched technique? Or was this about to become a humbling moment for the former heavyweight champion? Tyson's frustration began to show. Each swing that didn't land chipped away at his ego. He attempted to close the distance, throwing combinations with blinding speed, yet Norris anticipated each one with perfect timing. A well-placed low kick to Tyson's thigh caused him to lose balance momentarily, and the crowd erupted in excitement. Even Tyson's corner was silent, sensing that discipline was slowly taking control over aggression. Despite the mounting evidence, Tyson's pride refused to let him back down. He smirked, trying to play to the audience. "Come on, old man. Show me what you got," he shouted, more out of ego than provocation. Norris didn't answer with words. Instead, he adjusted his stance, eyes locked on Tyson, reading every twitch of muscle, every blink, every shift in weight. The calm, focused demeanor of Norris contrasted starkly with Tyson's explosive energy, creating a tension that held the arena in suspense. As the round progressed, Norris's counters became more precise. A spinning back kick narrowly missed Tyson's head, causing a ripple of awe through the audience. The reality was sinking in. Tyson's power was unmatched in boxing, but against Norris's martial arts mastery, each overzealous attack only created openings for precise counters. The crowd leaned forward, captivated by the elegance and discipline on display. The lesson was clear. Patience and skill could neutralize even the greatest force. By the end of the round, Tyson was breathing heavily, his confidence visibly shaken. Norris remained steady, barely winded, his poise unbroken. The bell rang, signaling a pause, and the crowd erupted into mixed reactions. Admiration for Norris's skill, awe at Tyson's courage, and the tension of anticipation for what would happen next. Fans whispered, "This is going to end soon." But how? The stage was set for the moment that would define the match. The showdown where skill, patience, and precision would either humble raw power or be overwhelmed by it. The crowd's energy swelled, cameras zooming in on every detail, everyone sensing that the climax of this legendary face-off was approaching. And in that charged silence between rounds, a thought rippled through the arena. This isn't just a fight. It's a lesson in humility, discipline, and respect. The third round began, the crowd practically vibrating with anticipation. The arena lights glared down on the mat, illuminating two figures who had captured the world's attention. Mike Tyson, fists raised and muscles coiled like a spring, charged forward with the confidence of a man who had never known defeat. Across from him, Chuck Norris stood calm and collected, his eyes scanning Tyson, every nerve attuned to movement, every fiber of his being ready to respond. The air was electric. Tyson launched the first flurry, a rapid combination of punches meant to overwhelm Norris immediately. Each strike was explosive, packed with decades of boxing power designed to break defenses and assert dominance. The crowd erupted, half cheering for Tyson's aggression, half holding their breath in fear for what would happen next. But Norris remained composed. He didn't flinch. He didn't overreact. Each swing was countered with subtle shifts in stance, slight pivots, and careful, deliberate movement. His mastery made every attempt at brute force seem almost ineffective. Frustration began to show on Tyson's face. His ego, which had fueled his confidence, now clashed against a calm, unyielding discipline. The former heavyweight champion's swings grew wider, his attacks less measured, each overextension leaving him vulnerable. The crowd sensed the moment approaching. The tension reached a crescendo. Then it happened. Tyson rushed in with all the power he could muster, throwing a spinning right hook that could have felled any normal opponent. Norris anticipated it perfectly. With the precision of a master, he shifted slightly to the side and delivered a spinning back kick, aimed squarely at Tyson's jaw. The impact was immediate. Tyson's eyes widened in shock as the force sent him staggering backward, off balance and stunned. The arena erupted in gasps, cheers, and shouts. Cameras captured the moment from every angle. The crowd could hardly believe what they had just seen. The legendary Mike Tyson, overwhelmed in seconds by the precision of Chuck Norris. Tyson tried to recover, but Norris didn't give him the chance to regain his footing. A controlled series of strikes, light but perfectly timed, forced Tyson to step back again. Every movement from Norris emphasized control over aggression, technique over raw power. The contrast had never been clearer. Tyson, the man who had knocked out champions with a single punch, was humbled not by strength but by skill and discipline. Finally, Norris delivered the decisive blow, a clean sidekick that landed just below Tyson's chest, sending him sprawling to the mat. The crowd erupted in astonishment and applause. Cameras flashed as reporters yelled, "Unbelievable! Tyson is down!" The shockwave of the knockout reverberated through the arena and across social media. Clips exploded online instantly. Fans around the world shared, commented, and debated. Tyson vs. Norris, respect the discipline, and legendary knockout were trending within minutes. Tyson lay on the mat, dazed, blinking in disbelief. For a brief moment, the world seemed to pause. He had faced every challenge in the ring, defeated every opponent, but tonight he learned a lesson far beyond punching power. Norris didn't gloat, didn't shout victory. Instead, he approached Tyson with calm respect, extending a hand to help him up. The crowd roared in approval, sensing the humility and mutual respect being displayed. Tyson took Norris's hand, pulling himself up slowly. His pride remained intact, but his demeanor had shifted. He smiled, nodding at Norris. "You got me," he admitted, still catching his breath. The lesson was clear. Ego without discipline could be defeated, even by precision and technique alone. The crowd erupted into cheers again, this time louder, filled with admiration for both men. Tyson for his courage to face such a legend, Norris for his unparalleled skill and humility. The commentators were nearly shouting over the roar of the arena. "This is historic. This is not just a fight. It's a masterclass in respect, skill, and discipline." If you think Tyson just learned a lesson in humility, type respect in the comments below. As the round ended and Tyson caught his breath, he and Norris exchanged a nod that spoke volumes. It wasn't about defeat or victory. It was about the power of mastery, the elegance of control, and the respect earned through skill. The audience understood it. The lesson wasn't just for the ring. It was a lesson for life. In that electrifying moment, one thought ran through everyone watching. Strength alone is nothing without respect, patience, and discipline. And as the crowd cheered, cameras captured the iconic image. Tyson, humbled but brave, standing beside Norris, the master of technique and patience, a living legend who had just taught the world the ultimate lesson in skill and humility. The crowd was still roaring as the echoes of the knockout reverberated through the arena. Mike Tyson, the man who had once dominated opponents with sheer power and fearlessness, was now catching his breath on the mat. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his forehead, and his pride, though intact, had been humbled. Across from him, Chuck Norris stood steady, calm, and composed, the embodiment of mastery, patience, and discipline. Every eye in the arena was fixed on the two legends, witnessing not just a battle of strength, but a lesson in humility and respect. As Tyson slowly rose, Norris approached him with measured steps, offering a hand. The gesture was simple, but the significance was enormous. It wasn't about victory. It was about honor. Tyson took the hand, pulling himself upright, the weight of the moment settling in. For once, the cocky, confident fighter was silent, listening rather than boasting. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, not just for the display of skill, but for the mutual respect between two icons of their respective fields. "Power without control is nothing," Norris said, his voice calm yet commanding, carrying through the arena. "Strength alone can only take you so far. Technique, patience, and respect, that is true mastery." Tyson nodded slowly, absorbing the wisdom. He could feel the truth of those words in his bones. The lesson was clear. Ego could be humbled by skill, arrogance by discipline, and raw power could be surpassed by patience and technique. The reporters surged forward, microphones thrust toward both men. Social media cameras were flashing from every corner, capturing the moment that would soon go viral. Fans posted videos, GIFs, and commentary instantly. Tyson humbled, Norris wisdom, respect the mastery. Across the world, people were sharing, commenting, and debating. The spectacle wasn't just a fight. It was a lesson in life, discipline, and respect that transcended martial arts. Tyson, catching his breath, finally spoke. "I faced every challenge in the ring," he admitted. "But tonight I learned more about respect and control than in all my years of fighting." "You're not just a legend, Chuck. You're a master." Norris smiled, a quiet nod acknowledging the courage it took for Tyson to face him so boldly. "And you're a champion in your own right," Norris replied. Courage and heart are as important as strength. The crowd erupted again, sensing the gravity of the moment. Fans cheered both men not for who won or lost, but for the lesson they had just witnessed. Humility, control, and respect are far more powerful than ego and brute force. Social media feeds exploded with clips of the handshake, the respectful nods, and Norris's calm demeanor. Memes and posts emphasizing humility, patience, and discipline began trending worldwide. Even Tyson's corner and the event organizers acknowledged the lesson. Trainers, fans, and commentators alike praised Norris's ability to teach through action rather than words. It was a moment that transcended a simple exhibition match. It was a story the world could learn from. The roar of the arena, the flashes of cameras, the excited whispers of fans, everything reinforced the magnitude of what had happened. If you think Tyson just learned a lesson in humility and respect, type respect in the comments below. Let's show the world that strength is nothing without humility. The two legends exchanged one final look before exiting the mat together. Tyson, still processing the lesson, nodded in gratitude. Norris, serene and composed, raised his hand to the crowd in acknowledgement. The message was clear. True mastery is measured not by how hard you hit, but by how much respect and control you carry in every action. As the crowd began to settle and the arena slowly emptied, the world outside was already buzzing with the story. Clips of the match, the knockout, and the handshake were shared millions of times within hours. The lesson spread quickly, not about winning or losing, but about the power of patience, discipline, and respect. Tyson himself posted a short video online later, reflecting, "Tonight taught me more than any fight. Strength is nothing without respect." By the end of the night, it was clear. This wasn't just a match. It was a masterclass in humility and honor, a reminder that ego must be tempered, and that true strength is measured by the respect you earn, not the fear you impose. The world had witnessed history, and the story of Tyson and Norris would inspire countless people for years to come. The arena had emptied, but the echoes of the legendary match between Mike Tyson and Chuck Norris lingered in the minds of everyone who had witnessed it. Social media exploded almost instantly. Clips of Tyson being humbled, Norris's precise counters, and their respectful handshake circulated across platforms. Within minutes, hashtags like Tyson vs Norris, "Year Respect the Master," "Discipline over Power," and "Legendary Knockout" were trending worldwide. Fans were sharing their thoughts from every corner of the globe, from Manila to New York, London to Tokyo. The story of strength, discipline, and respect had reached a scale no one could have predicted. News outlets picked up the story immediately. Headlines proclaimed, "Tyson humbled by Norris in historic exhibition. Discipline triumphs over raw power," and "A lesson in respect. Legends teach the world." Analysts debated the match endlessly. Some highlighted Tyson's courage for stepping onto the mat against a martial arts icon. Others marveled at Norris's perfect control and discipline. One thing was unanimous: this wasn't just entertainment. It was a global lesson in humility and mastery. Meanwhile, fans flooded the comment sections with praise for both legends. Many wrote about personal takeaways, how the match reminded them that arrogance is no match for skill and patience, and that even the strongest must respect the mastery of others. Tyson's own post-match video went viral, showing him reflecting, "Tonight I learned more than I ever did in the ring. Strength is nothing without respect, patience, and control." Comments poured in. "Respect. Legendary lesson. Discipline beats ego every time." The impact wasn't limited to social media. Martial arts schools used clips of the match to demonstrate technique versus power, discipline over aggression. Boxing gyms highlighted Tyson's courage and the importance of humility. Trainers, athletes, and fans analyzed every frame. Tyson's explosive power, Norris's fluid counters, and the moment of the knockout that would be remembered for decades. The story became both viral and educational, inspiring discussions on strength, mastery, and respect. Tyson himself embraced the lesson publicly. In interviews, he acknowledged Norris's skill and humility. "I stepped on that mat full of confidence, thinking power could win any fight," he said. "But tonight I learned that control, patience, and respect are the real strengths. Chuck taught me that, and I respect him more than ever." Norris, ever calm, replied with a simple smile, "Courage and heart are as important as strength." Tyson showed both tonight. The fan reactions mirrored the sentiment. Millions celebrated not just the fight, but the message. Clips of the respectful handshake, the knockout, and Norris's calm demeanor were shared endlessly. Schools, gyms, and online communities began using the match as a teaching tool, a story of humility, respect, and mastery. The lesson spread far beyond the arena, reaching people who would never set foot in a gym but understood the power of restraint and honor. And then, of course, the world couldn't resist memes and jokes, all respectful, celebrating the moment. Tyson's exaggerated expressions of surprise were paired with captions highlighting humility, while Norris's calm poses became a symbol of control and wisdom. The viral effect was complete. A story that combined drama, ego, skill, and life lessons had captured the attention of millions worldwide. If you believe strength is nothing without respect, type humility in the comments and share this story with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe for more legendary lessons from the world's greatest moments. By the end of the day, the match wasn't just a viral sensation, it was a cultural moment. People around the world were inspired to reflect on their own lives. How often had they let ego guide them? How often had they underestimated skill or discipline? The story of Tyson and Norris had transcended sport, becoming a lesson in life. In the quiet aftermath, the image that would define this event was etched into history. Tyson and Norris, standing side by side, sweaty, tired, but respectful. One humbled by the lesson, the other calm in mastery. Both icons of courage, strength, and respect. The message was clear. True power is measured not by how hard you hit, but by how much respect, patience, and control you show in every action. The legend of that night would be retold for generations. The knockout wasn't just a physical event. It was a symbolic moment, a reminder that humility, discipline, and respect are the qualities that truly make someone a champion.